Well, I wanted to just highlight that we will be recording this session so that the session can be later watched or here others can access it later if they want to, especially for those who are not able to attend our session today. And just to manage our webinar smoothly today, if I can just kindly request, if you're not speaking, if you can mute yourself so we can hear when others are presenting during the webinar. So I'll start off our session today. My name is John Lillo. I'm with Save the Children. I work with Climate Smart Education Systems Initiative project, which is the project where this webinar we are organizing comes under. So it's a project that we are working closely with ministries of education in the region and also other stakeholders and partners. So I just wanted to start off by welcoming you all to this webinar, to our first webinar. I wanted to take this time to acknowledge and thank you all. In particular, I want to also acknowledge the presence of our Pacific Heads of Education Systems members who are on the call as well. I want to also acknowledge our senior Ministry of Education officials and who are also part of us this call. Also, I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge our stakeholders, our partners who are joining us in this call, and all of you who have joined us this morning or afternoon, wherever you are joining from. I especially want to acknowledge and thank our speakers for this morning or afternoon, especially thank you to the Palau Ministry of Education, Vanuatu Department of Education, and also thank you to our colleagues from UN, OCHA and UNICEF, who are also part of the presentations this morning or this afternoon. So thank you very much all and welcome to this webinar. This webinar will be one of a series of webinars that will be coming up not only this year but later next year. So expect that there will be a number of series that are webinar series that will be coming up next year. And I also wanted to highlight one that is coming up very soon in February next year, which is on climate infrastructure. This will be led by our implementing partner, a global performance building, the Global Buildings Performance Network organization, who will be steering this or leading this webinar next year in February. So we will be sending out an announcement and email follow-up to all of you later about this. So yes, before we start, I just wanted to mention that I haven't introduced our presenters, but I would like to ask when they do come online, those who will be presenting to just introduce yourself and your organization or who you're representing before you continue on with your presentation. So as I mentioned, I've just put in the chart, the outline for the agenda. So I won't go through that agenda outline because we have time constraints. So I will just acknowledge and request our first speaker to come online and share with us their presentation, and that is on the current cyclone season overview by our colleagues from OCHA. Thank you.
John, thanks. Shall I go on? Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katalaine Nduaimbe. Let me just sign. Yep, so my name is Katalaine Nduaimbe. I'm with the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, Office of the Pacific Islands, based in Suva, Fiji. And I'm a humanitarian affairs officer overseeing our coordination work. So today I'll just present an overview of the current cyclone season. As we do every year, we normally monitor what the RMSC service that's based out of the Fiji Meteorological Service. We monitor their forecast as well as all the different countries' meteorological services forecast for their country specific forecasts. And we also send out a preparedness survey at the start of the cyclone season, whereby we ask all cluster members to provide their preparedness activity, just so that we can have an overview of the different preparedness activities that's done in the different clusters. So I'll try to keep this to 5 minutes, and I've shared the slides with the organizers, so they probably will circulate it at the end of this webinar. So from the RSMC in Nandi, this is a below normal activity. The cyclone season is below normal activity as compared to past seasons. So for the entire western and the eastern region, they forecast about 4 to 5 tropical cyclones, out of which 2 to 3 would be in the western region and also 2 to 3 in the eastern region. And the map is quite clear in terms of the countries that falls under the 2 different regions, of which they have areas of responsibility over. And of the 4 to 5 tropical cyclones, they forecast that at least 1 to 3 would be of severe category tropical cyclones, meaning probably tropical category 3 and higher. And of course, the breakdown is there between the western and the eastern region, around 1 to 2 severe tropical cyclones for the west and about 1 for the eastern region. Coming down to the specific countries of focus. So for Fiji, the Fiji Met has forecasted 1 to 2 tropical cyclones within the Fiji group. Sorry, that slide is supposed to be in the next section, but anyway, moving on to the country-focused outlook. For Solomon Islands, this is the region where they like to say that all the tropical cyclones that affect the rest of us forms in the Solomon Islands first, before then they pass it on to the rest of the countries that follow it. So they forecast 2 to 3 tropical cyclone seasons as well, which is below average as well compared to the last season. For Vanuatu, similarly, 2 to 4 tropical cyclones is expected, and they're anticipating at least 1 to reach category 3 or of a higher intensity within this current season. For them, it usually peaks between January to March. And so it's good that we are already aware of this forecast. We go for Fiji. I've said so before, they're expecting at least 1, either 0 to 1 severe tropical cyclone to affect the Fiji group. And for Tonga, normal tropical cyclone activity is expected. And they're looking at least 1 severe tropical cyclone to affect them for this season. In Samoa, similarly, one tropical cyclone may reach Category 3 cyclone, and the peak period is usually experienced from January, March. So in terms of what the PHT preparedness, there was a survey that was conducted in October just to gauge the current level of preparedness amongst cluster members, which includes UN agencies, INGOs, NGOs, and in some within some clusters, they also involve the national sector leads or the national cluster leads. So the idea is for the Pacific Humanitarian Team is just to get an overview of what each is prepared for going forward. And the survey closed on the 21st of November. It was conducted online. It was a very simple survey just to get an understanding of who and what activities they're doing and in which particular location. So there's a dashboard that was prepared to consolidate all of the results. In the survey, there were 12 geographical locations that were covered. 50 organizations participated in the survey, and 212 preparedness activities or initiatives was recorded or highlighted by cluster members. This included the education cluster. Unfortunately, we did not get any preparedness activities for the countries of Tokelau, Niue, and Nauru, but nevertheless, we were able to get as much information as we could get from the other countries. So how does this translate to the education cluster? So for the education cluster, there were 7 organizations that indicated their preparedness activity. And as you can see on the slide, this included the likes of Caritas, UNICEF, of course, IOM, and the Red Cross societies. There was 8 preparedness activities. When we share the slides, it'll have a link to the dashboard, and you can query it further to also get an understanding of the other clusters that the education cluster interacts with so that you can have an understanding of what they are doing towards their preparedness for this current season. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to share the slides following this or take questions if there's opportunity for questions and answers.
Thank you, Patalaine, for sharing this cyclone season outlook. I think this is a very important information. I know all of us come from different groups that was shared just now. So yeah, hopefully this will be helpful for everyone. And if you would like to follow up with any other question or information, please do reach out to our presenters. We will go straight to our next I will go straight to our panel presentations, and we'll circle back at the end for question and answers for all the presentations. Yeah? So before, without further ado, I will now ask our Palau Ministry of Education colleagues to do their presentation. So I will just share my screen so that you can see the presentation from my end. All right. I will now hand over to our colleagues from the Palau Ministry of Education to do their presentation and also ask them to introduce themselves when they present. Thank you. Eileen, I think you guys are on mute.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Alright. Good morning from Palau. My name is Ivy Miguel. I'm the Chief of School Operations Management at the Palau Ministry of Education. With me to my right, in the middle is Principal Smaita Lang of our only public high school, which is Palau High School. And to my far right is Principal Sarah Sugiyama from one of our elementary schools here in Koror, Newlands Elementary School. Next slide, please. So Newlands Elementary School will be presented by the principal, Ms. Sarah Sugiyama.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Very clear.
Oh, all right, okay. So good morning. My name, like the chief said, my name is Sarah. I'm principal of one of the public school elementary. It's one of the biggest one here in Koror. And so just I thank you for the opportunity to come and share how we prepare at our school level. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that's me. So the most important thing when we have a cyclone is, of course, preparation, because it helps us make sure we protect our loved ones and keep them safe. So how do we prepare at our elementary school here at youth? So before I share that with you, one of the key things that we know that is very important in preparation is the communication. So for us at the school level, to make sure that the information we're getting is accurate, here is the pattern of how we get our information. As far as when a natural disaster strikes, like a cyclone. So it comes from Chief Miguel, our Chief of School Operations, and then from her to me, the principal or the acting principal, and then I disseminate the information to the students, the faculty, and even the parents. So that's our communication as far as any disaster, to ensure that we have accurate information that we provide, especially to the students, teachers, and parents. So before I go, I want to share with you a visual representation of our schools. As you can see, our school is an extensive campus, and preparedness is very important to ensure that we respond accordingly and we keep everybody safe. So this will kind of give you an idea of how our school looks like currently. So during before the typhoon, because we do get the information beforehand that if it's approaching. So of course, staying up to date is the most important part. And making sure we have the correct information, keep checking in with further instructions from our National Emergency Office, including the Ministry of Education. And then secondly, we make sure we secure the school. Everything in the school, inside and outside, must be secured and protected before the storm arrives. And then three, of course, to ensure that we ensure that the school is safe, we shut down any devices that require electric use. So both non-critical and non-essential electric equipments like computers, water heaters, so those stuff. And four, we make sure we assess the school campus, make sure there's no loose debris or anything that would easily get blown away during the cyclone. And then, of course, lastly, we make sure we have supplies, especially with water, because we don't know the duration. We just want to make sure that there's water in case after the typhoon or the cyclone and we have to go back to school and we don't have resources yet, or resources are not available, and at least the school will be ready when it reopens. And sometimes we do have volunteers like the school security guard who would wish to stay in the classroom and just continue to monitor the school campus and the infrastructure. Then we also make sure that they have proper supplies to be there during the cyclone. But in the event that we do actually have a typhoon or a storm, then all school and the faculty and the students are informed of the approaching storm, and students will be dismissed. And then once the students are dismissed, then our response team and volunteers will prepare for the storm and start securing the school. So also because we're not a shelter, even before school is, even before the typhoon approaches, if we're in a watch, then students and teachers will remain at the school, and they must be indoors during the watch. And while we await further instruction from the chief of school operations. And once she gives us the evacuation instructions, then we will inform the parents to pick up their children. So during that time while we're waiting, all students and teachers and staff are to remain indoors until all the students have left the school premises. And once they leave, then the staff can do a final secure of the school premises and then leave home or to the shelters. So other safety measures during and after the typhoon is as follows. So we continue to stay informed and keep updated with the progress of the typhoon to make sure before and during the storm, so we can be sure that we have accurate information and we know how to move what to do and how to keep everybody safe. We also wait until our National Emergency Office or the chief of the ministry, MOE, will let us know that the roads are safe and it is safe to go back to school, and then we can start our survey and assessment of the damages or recovery efforts. Once we get that call, one of the things that we also do is if we encounter any injuries or damages, the first thing we must do is report it to the chief of school operations. And then after that, we can begin the salvaging process to prevent further damages with whatever it is that were damaged, with the infrastructure that were damaged during the cyclone. Once the school has been determined to be safe for the students and faculty to return, then classes will resume. And as I mentioned, because we're not an evacuation center, schools will resume right after we have made it safe and clean for students and teachers to return. So, but some of the things that we also do to ensure that we continue helping our students understand the importance of preparedness is we also have classroom lessons that incorporate the preparedness practices to help teach the students how to be aware of the disaster and how to protect themselves during disaster. So these are some of the lessons that we do with lower grade students, middle grade students, and upper grade students. And along with that is we do mandatory drills twice a year. So that's one of the things that we do to ensure that the learning is sustainable and continues, so the students are aware all the time what they need to do in order to prepare, not just for the cyclone disaster, but also for other emergencies. And one of the things that we also did, the ministry did, was upgrade the school facilities. So now we have a much more safer, stronger, clean, and most importantly, accessible infrastructure. And even though our school is not an evacuation shelter, as you were able to see from the picture, we're very vulnerable because we're right by the ocean, which means during any disaster, especially like cyclones, tsunamis, or earthquake, we would need our response need to be very quick in order to ensure that everybody's safe. So because we're by the water during storms, tropical storms or cyclone, one of our major concern is the storm surge coming in. And so one of the things that we were doing is upgrading our infrastructure and as well as our school campus to ensure that it's accessible and response can happen quickly. So as you can see from the picture, you can see the before and the after. There has been a lot of upgrades to ensure that the roads are accessible before, during, and even after any emergency. So that way, the response time is much more quicker, and it's easier for us to it's easier for parents to commute or students and teachers and staff to move the students to the rally points. So we have been fortunate to have upgraded all our facilities. And as you can see in this last picture, there's a gate. The building there was our old cafeteria, and it was right by the middle of the school campus, and it was blocking one of the emergency exits. So that was demolished, and then we had to build a new one at a different area. So that way, if you were able to see, we have a much more open campus that's accessible easily for traffic. And of course, inside the classrooms, as you can see, including the classrooms were, sorry about that. The classrooms were also upgraded to ensure that it's more accessible and easier for kids to move in or out of the classrooms. And this includes, as you can see, the lights. We build lights within the roof, so that's why it's safer, and at least electrically. So we have done a lot of upgrades with our facilities just to ensure that our response efforts are more timely and more to also ensure that traffic is easier. It's easier to move in and out of the school whenever there is any kind of an emergency. I think that's it. But just a quick quote over there. Something that we believe at our school, especially with our school response management team, that when disaster strikes, the time to prepare has already passed, so we should just be ready for it. So I think that's it. Like you said, if you have there's any questions, then please feel free. But thank you, Sulang from Palau.
Well, once again, greetings, colleagues from the region. My name is Michael Zhang. I'm the principal of Palau High School. Palau High School is also in Koro area, sort of a business district where most of the population is in. Basically, I have only 3 things to talk about. If we could go to the next slide, please. So number 1 would be dismissal of student, and number 2, shelter preparation, and number 3 would be reopening of the shelters. Well, compared to Munes Elementary, Palau High School is one of the typhoon shelter in Palau. So basically, the only difference between the two is that once we dismiss the students, we have to prepare the school and open it for people, families, individuals who are seeking a shelter during the storm or the typhoon. So basically, preparing for toward the coming typhoon is critical, and it involves a lot of partner agencies, which Chief Miguel will be talking about. But basically, there is a set protocol and a chain of communication between these agencies. However, the school is very important that it receives fast communication in terms of when or are we ready for dismissal. So basically what happens is that we usually wait for the official communication from the Ministry of Education, as Sarah mentioned. It usually comes from the Bureau of School Operations under the direction of Chief Miguel. So, and that's when the principal has to mobilize its emergency personnel to make sure the students are evacuated to a safer area and then be bused home, or the parents will be picking them up. Now, when it comes to the closure of shelters and reopening for people to come and seek shelter, there's got to be a partnership between our LATs from Palau Red Cross Society, and that's what we work with to run the shelter. So basically, that's what it is. Once the students are released, I mobilize my team to make sure the school is safe and ready to open to receive families and people who are seeking shelter. Now, once we get the all clear information that people are now coming in, that's when we say, okay, we need how many hours before we start closing the shelter. And once the shelter are closed, no one has to go out or no one has to come in during the real storm that is already happening. So basically, that's the big difference between non-shelter schools and shelter school. Palau School has about more than a little over 50 classrooms, but from experiences, we don't usually use most of them because there are a number of schools in Palau that are also shelters. So through divisions, we usually are instructed which villages will be going to Palau School and which villages goes to the other school. But the last couple of experiences that we've gone through, we saw a large number of people coming in to seek shelters. So the people whom I will be assigning to work as the people monitoring, making sure safety is there, making sure that the occupants who are in the shelters are safe, are the ones that will, well, I shouldn't say it, but they're the ones that kind of take risk of not going to their families, but to stay 24 hours during the time that there is a storm or typhoon. So basically, that's what we do in my school. We sort of, take turns to make sure that the occupants are safe, as well as making sure that their needs are met. Um, and then for the reopening of the school, again, communication is key. So throughout the entire storm or typhoon, communication is always ongoing. This is where we are carrying informations to basically monitor and say, okay, now the typhoon, the storm has passed. It is now safe for everybody to be released back to their homes. So when that happens, everybody has to be given ample time to move back to their communities, their homes, and to allow the school to reassess, survey, and make sure that there are no damages that are severe or to make sure that the school is safe for reopening. So in the event that there are damages or people who got injured while they were staying in the school, communication has to be uh, uh, sent to people who are involved in this entire process, especially for me as a principal, the information would go to, let's say, Chief Miguel of the Ministry of Education. And from there, we work out ways and means to ensure that those injuries are taken care of, as well as what damages have we sustained and what can we do to make sure they are solved before getting an all clear for the school to reopen. So it's a very short slide, but basically I would be willing to receive questions if we have further detail that you would want to ask from me. So that's basically it, and thank you very much. Now let's go to that earlier part of my presentation. Yeah? In the event of a typhoon, most of the time it doesn't last long. So the continuity of school is for that certain period of time, there will be no school. So the maximum, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, would be 1 week. That's the maximum. Maybe 2 days, 3 days closure. We need two days to make sure the school is safe for reopening. So basically, school will not be affected, and therefore, when we close the school, the number of the number of days that there was no school will be made up afterwards. So we will not miss a single day of school. We just need to make up the school. Now, in case the disaster is going to be takes a while, there's a means for us to relocate students to other schools to ensure that learning is not disrupted for a very long time. That's basic. It happened during I think it was Typhoon Haiyan that destroyed the northern part of our country, and where the entire school building was thoroughly damaged, and the Ministry of Education was able to bring all the students from that state to Koror, and then put them in other schools in Koror where the learning was able to continue. And so that's what happened. But for Palau School, we haven't had a case where we have to move our students to other school. It's just to the most about 1 week to get the school ready to reopen. Thank you. Next slide.
So again, good morning. My name is Eileen. I'll be talking about the national level preparedness measures that the ministry, along with the national government, take to ensure our schools are prepared and safe. So the National Emergency Committee, National Emergency Management Office, and other partner agencies have worked with the schools over the past 10 years to revise their school emergency management plans. Experts in the field of emergency preparedness and management work with school principals to develop and implement their emergency plans. There's a group called the Palau Healthcare Coalition, which conducts annual school emergency evacuation drills. The Palau Ministry of Education works with the national government and various funding agencies to upgrade school facilities, as you saw in the presentation from Principal Sugiyama. Work such as upgrading water systems, retrofitting schools by installing shutters, and renovating school facilities are done to ensure schools are safe. And lastly, school emergency kits and other supplies are shared to schools regularly to make sure they have the supplies they need during regular days and emergencies as well. Next slide, please. So in this slide, you'll see there's a couple of pictures. The first one on your upper left, the man standing in the middle is the former ambassador of Japan to Palau, and they were able to donate emergency kits as well as other emergency preparedness material. The slide in the middle is also a donation by the Palau Red Cross Society. And these kinds of donations are delivered to all of the schools, public and private schools in Palau, to ensure they have the supplies they need in case of emergencies. The slide, the picture on your, sorry, the picture on your right are elementary students participating in a first aid school competition. Students are trained on various first aid and CPR measures, and they participate in a competition. And then the picture on your left is a picture of one of the elementary schools in Palau where an emergency drill was conducted, and that's a group picture after the drill. Next slide. So the national level response is first is the Palau National Weather Service will receive the information, and even before a 72-hour approach, they start working with the National Emergency Management Office. At around 72 hours, the National Emergency Management Office convenes what is called a National Emergency Committee. This committee comprises of directors from all of the government agencies, along with other relevant members, such as communications, electricity, and they begin preparations for the upcoming cyclone. Our director Mool, I know he's in here listening, he sits at the NEC. So once he receives information on whether schools will be closed, he in turn gives me that information, and we work together to inform the public and private schools. Once they are informed, the schools activate their own emergency management plans. Next slide. So once we inform the school principals, as you saw in the previous presentations, they inform their teachers, school personnel, and students and parents. In Palau, there are 8 schools that serve as typhoon shelters. So for these schools, once they release their students, they start preparing the school to serve as shelters. The principals have been trained in operating schools as shelters, and they work alongside the Palau Red Cross Society's response disaster action team to run and operate the shelters. So after the typhoon is done, notice is given again by the National Emergency Committee, and we begin closing schools as shelters. In Palau, there are other buildings that serve as shelters, so the first priority is to close the schools as shelters. If people still need shelters, they'll be moved to the community buildings, so we can start getting the schools ready for instruction. So damage assessment is done by the Red Cross disaster action teams, along with other members of the national government. Once they assess the schools and they let the NEC know that the schools are ready to reopen, principals are informed and they start preparing for students to come back to school. Like Principal Razang mentioned earlier, when a typhoon strikes, the schools are closed and students go home, and their main goal is to be safe. Once schools are reopened, we resume school and we extend the school year by the number of days that the schools were closed. Next slide, please. So it may seem, I don't know if it seems a little chaotic to you, the 3 different presentations, but we have a lot of help from the local partners here in Palau. They are all listed here: the National Emergency Management Office, National Weather Service, Red Cross Society, IOM, Palau Healthcare Coalition, and the next one, Omakasang and Palau Parents Empowered, are for students with disabilities and adults with disabilities as well. And then Division of Fire and Rescue and the Ministry of Health and Human Services. These group of people work together to help the schools prepare their plans, test their plans, and teach students and teachers on what to do in case of emergencies. Without everyone working together, we wouldn't be able to be where we are today. In the past, we don't conduct emergency drills for typhoons, as we get notice way ahead of time so we can release students, but we do conduct drills for other hazards. Thank you everyone for your attention, and if you have any questions, we are more than willing to answer them.
Thank you very much, Palau, Chief Eileen, and our school principals for the presentation. I think that's a very comprehensive presentation. Just in terms of timing, I know we are a bit behind time, but it is important that we, get to learn about what countries and partners are doing in terms of cyclone preparedness. So I would like to just kindly ask if you can bear with us. If you have any other commitments that you might need to attend in our original time, you can be excused. But if you can remain when we can continue to finish our webinar today, that will be very good. So thank you once again, the Palau Ministry. I know there's probably some questions in the chat and people are really would want to ask questions. So maybe we'll just take one question for now, and then we'll shift over to our other presenters.
If the questions are in the chat, John, the principal of MUNES, is answering them as they come in. So
All right.
maybe we can go on in the sense of time.
All right. Thank you. All right. I will now hand over to our colleagues from Vanuatu. So let me just quickly share my screen again.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aaron Hakwa from the Ministry of Education, Education and Emergency Coordinator. I'll be doing the presentation with the Society Principal of Philae School in Palau and Vanuatu. Go to the next slide, please.
Can you see my slide, Aaron?
Yeah, yes, I can see your slide. The network issue. Can you hear me
Yes.
clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Aaron, I've been in the Ministry of Education. I'm the Education and Emergency Coordinator. In the Ministry of Education, I'll be doing this presentation with the principal of Philae School. Okay. Can we move to the next slide, please?
Which one?
Overview.
John,
should
maybe you
I-
can show it on presentation mode.
I just continue speaking. He'll Okay, should I just continue because of our time or?
Sorry, everyone. I think we lost John. Let me see if I can pull up the PowerPoint.
Okay, so I should continue speaking, eh?
Yeah, go
Because
ahead,
of our
Aaron.
time.
I'll bring
Okay.
up your PowerPoint while you're talking, okay?
Okay, so overview, the next slide, Vanuatu is a, as you will know, Vanuatu is small developing island, highly vulnerable to climate change and sea level rise, cyclone seasons, coastal erosions, and all the other disasters. The educational systems in Vanuatu, at the Ministry of Education, we have developed documents. We have developed the DRR and the education emergency policy. And also we have developed the national level education. Yes, that's the slide. We have developed the national level education contingency plan. We have developed the provincial level contingency plan, school level contingency plan, and the handbook SBDRR or school-based disaster risk reduction handbook. So all these documents, they are all linked and all connected together as we address the disasters in Hanapur. We would like to thank UNICEF, Save the Children, and other stakeholders that support us with this. So let's go to yes, the national level support systems for effective preparedness in the policy. So the government through Ministry of Education with the NDMO, National Disaster Management Office, and the relevant authorities is responsible for supporting the implementation of this policy in line with effects and other relevant legislation on policy. So these are the action or activities to do in preparedness towards all disasters in the national level. In the policy. So we conduct coordination meetings at the national and provincial level, updates contact of working group members and other relevant stakeholders. We develop and review the TOR of the education cluster, ensure education cluster is reliable and is active always and it's a permanent structure. We review plans, strategies and SOPs related to the prevention, mitigation and preparedness measures and other emergency in the education sector. We developed the MOD contingency plan at the national level, oversee and lead the implementation of the SBDRR, school-based disaster risk reduction programs. We implement risk reduction programs and the education emergency in the national level and provincial level. We establish communication lines and working in collaboration with all the clusters, all the working groups, and all the ministries. In Vanuatu, we develop and review the education needs assessment or the assessment tool uh, in preparation for disasters, the SOPs, and the guidelines. Next slide, please. We build capacity to conduct assessment related to the EIE and DRR in the education sector. We ensure assessment data are related to DRR, preparedness, response, recovery in the open premise. We have maintained a roster of deploying people to provide technical and coordination support at the school level. We ensure staff welfare at the central, provincial, and school level or local, including psychosocial and mental health support, educate and raise awareness on existing standard procedures and plans in education emergency and there are in education sector at the national level. Conduct monitoring and evaluation of education sector measures for risk reduction before, during, and after. Establish an education sector coordination mechanism at the provincial level. Next slide, please. Designating provincial focal points to coordinate the education sector response in the education emergency operations center that are aligned with the NDMO's policies, guidelines, and SOP. We identify and coordinate needs assessment tools, and we coordinate teams and the resource to be deployed to all schools that are affected in terms of disaster. So we go to the next slide. This slide is the contingency plan at the national level. This is to support effective preparedness in the school. So these are the activities to do in preparation. We distribute the speaker handbook and align national tools, example templates, key messages, and coordinate trainings, technical support for province education office in the province and all the schools. We confirm with the provincial office that all schools have a active school disaster management committee or school SDMC and update school disaster management plan. We need national provincial simulation that coordinate these studies. Next slide. Coordinate center coordination to clusters. Organizing quarterly meetings, update the cluster list, TOR, and operation guidelines to continue to review and update the cluster response plan template regularly, adapting it based on lesson learned and evolving needs. We verify the education emergency operating center structure and the internal communication protocols up to date. We confirm staff of availability and roles and search arrangement in case of activation, ensure alignment with the EOC, NEOC, coordination procedure, and recovery arrangement led by the Prime Minister's Office. We confirm learning continuity. We use homeschool package, flexible and have flexible calendar with the PEOs. Yes, and also online learning. English. Also, effective preparedness measures are embedded in the national education emergency planning tools, training materials with clear guidance on supporting students with disabilities during emergencies. In line with the SBDR handbook, you can find that in the appendix 4. Next slide, the confirm assessment of schools, selected schools to be used as safe centers. We do that with the DCM clusters using the Safe and Ready tool. With the schools staff to support with the assessments to the school. We coordinate with the provincial team to ensure regular updates on school watch and environmental risk practice. We identify schools that risk of climate related hazard, from coastal erosion, heat, and droughts. Based on provincial reports, we prioritize maintenance of vulnerable infrastructure where possible. We investigate early planning for potential relocation in coordination with NAP and partners, and also ensure alerts for droughts, temperature indicators, and so on. Coordinate with province on the pre-processing of educational recreational materials ahead of cyclone season. and assess the needs for alternative emergency storage sites. Coordinate provinces to monitor emergency supplies needs, ensure procurement and distribution of plants are in place. Next slide, we integrate cultural knowledge and local resource into the national DRR and promote community empowering as a cross-cutting principle in school safety programming. We support the national and school level mapping, CIP, MHPSS, and gender-based violence referral services, and ensure that the information is regularly updated, including community mechanism where relevant. Next slide. This is the contingency plan for the provincial level. This is a sum of the effective preparedness. Support school in using PDRR tools, including school level of preparedness, Appendix 5. School risk assessment tool, you can find it is in Appendix 1. These are linked to the SBTRR handbook. So this appendix you can find them in the school-based risk reduction handbook. So updated school disaster management plan and contact list, you can find them in Appendix 2, provide orientation when needed. We collect and review tools, provide feedbacks to the Ministry of Education. The province should support all schools to activate the school disaster management committees and review their school disaster management plan. The provincial education office should conduct simulate drills aligned with the national protocols and in the SBTRR handbook tools. You can find them in appendices 6 and 8. Including against here we should also do the psychosocial and WASH components. And so school complete preparedness actions and that emergency communication channels are ready to be activated. And so emergency connectivity, such as Starlink and other tools is operational or requested if needed. They need to confirm learning continuity, example, home school package, flexible calendars with school, and we have the online learning modules in place. Next slide. This school level support system for preparedness. It's taken from the contingency plan to school level. These are only some of them. So preparedness, you can find them in Appendix 5. Contact school risk assessment using Appendices 1. Update and submit the school disaster management plan and contact list. This found in the Appendix 2. Submit results to PEOs and take actions as appropriate based on the school's rating. This is done by the school principal and given to the provincial education office. So these are the few actions that the principal would do. So the principal should, school principal should establish or reactivate the school disaster management committee, activate school disaster, update school disaster management plan. After use review, including wash status and the heat exposure risk below cyclone and drought season. Principals should organize and carry out simulation drills. This using the appendices 6 and 8 in the SBTRR handbook and national guidance. Ensuring the attention to mental health and psychosocial support and also wash safe practices. Complete preparedness actions and ensure emergency communication channels are in place, and also need to coordinate with the POs and CDCCC, the community Can it? Yes, coordinate with the POs and the city triple Cs for any warnings and request support if needed. Plan for early continuity, example homeschool package, flexible calendar, and tools and remote assistance. Next slide, identify students with disability, integrate inclusive education into the school disaster management plan. Also conduct regular preparedness drills involving all students, ensuring roles and routes are adapted for accessibilities. Yes. Participate in the assessment of schools suitability as safe shelter, using the safe and ready tool and supporting coordination with the displacement and evacuation center management. PCM plus where applicable. Integrate DRR into school activities. Example, school gadgets, safe wash practices and hazard posters, promote awareness of heat-related risks, such as examples, ensuring shaded play areas of hydration, inform peers of support needs if needed to us. Indicate the school disaster management plan, any exposure to climate related hazards such as erosion, heat stress, or drought, and discuss concern with the provincial education office for possible action. Next slide, next slide is about the handbook. Next, yes, this one. So this is the SB General Handbook. It's a national guide from the Ministry of Education. Clear steps for principals, teachers, students, and community students. For the preparedness procedures for all the disasters, we have to identify hazard around the schools. We have to form and train school disaster committee. To update the school contingency plan. The school need to practice regular evacuation drills. The school needs to check buildings and surrounding for any risk. Has to maintain an emergency kit and supplies, has to support students with disability and vulnerable groups, follow clear communication plan with parents and the community. Next slide, please. The challenges at the national level we face. The training of the school-based disaster risk reduction handbook has not reached all schools in Vanuatu yet. Principals and teachers transfers to other schools, so they have like contracts. So after end of each contract, they transfer to other schools. And also we have man-made disasters. Recent one is as you all know, the teacher strike issue we faced in Vanuatu. Next one here is the limited resources and funding to do the activities, and we also have the geographical isolation. The schools are up far hilltop, so transportation by sea. They are located in very remote areas. So next slide. Okay, I will give to Madam Dorina Lala to continue the presentation.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone.
I will be sharing with us how Philae School prepared for past cyclones. Okay, Philae School is a school situated in the urban in Port Vila, and it is from ECCE primary up to junior secondary year 10, and now it is a total of over 1,000 students. Okay, firstly here, we are based on the school vision and mission that states a safe, healthy, and inclusive learning environment that connects with the MOET, Ministry of Education vision and mission. So our first, how we prepare for cyclones, the first thing we do is we build a strong community, school collaboration. We believe that when we build this strong collaboration, it strengthens our planning and the coordination of how we prepare for cyclones. So we have school disaster management team also in the school, and we also have a disaster committee, which they work with Safe School, and Safe School is a program that is also it comes under DRR, that is also in a school strategic plan. And then the disaster committee, they also look at the risk assessment. They do the risk assessment for the school, where they identify safe areas and unsafe areas, and the structure of the buildings, and then help the school admin to do the maintenance. Yes, to prepare for the cyclone. Secondly, we have clear practice of evacuation procedures, where we trained our teachers and our students evacuation drills for the disasters, especially a cyclone and earthquake. And then we make awareness programs to the kids, to the students, and even we ask other organizations to come in, Red Cross, to help us with first aid. Yes, so during those times, we educate our students and we educate our staff, because we believe that in Vanuatu, we believe that whatever we taught in the classroom, students take them home, and they also talk about it, they discuss it with their parents at home, and all this knowledge grow. Yes, and we also use disaster students disaster clubs. Okay, this comes from social citizenship education. It is also a program that is also operated in the school, where clubs we organize clubs, and then they come in given areas, and then students help in to help in prepare for cyclones. Yes, in the school. From there, we also have we give emergency contacts list to the kids, so that they know that during these types of disasters, these are people they're going to contact. If there's an injury, they contact the hospital or they contact the meteo in order to get information about weather. Yes, also pre-position emergency supplies. Here we also educate students and even teachers, especially to use first aid. So we have first aid training. We also clean our taps and our tanks, and then we put we secure them from contaminated water after cyclones and all this, rats, all this sinking into the water. We try to protect our water tanks before we leave. Next is communication systems. Communication systems, we coordinate with the DRR authorities from the Ministry of Education, and then we also communicate with Vanuatu Meteo to check for the weather, and then we also communicate with parents. Yes. Next, protection of school records and infrastructure. Here we try to take care of our school buildings. We do some repairs, make sure all windows, the louvers have been fixed before we leave and put shutters, and make sure our classrooms are safe. During that time, students also help in. They help in, they packed up everything with their teachers and put them in the middle. Also, the disaster committee, they give us their budget. We pay for storage containers where all these academic textbooks have to be kept safe inside these containers and put them under the table. And all other textbooks, put them in plastics, put them on the table and cover them again with turbulence, the black turbulence, and then we use ropes to tie them over the table to make sure we prepare for any kinds of disaster, the earthquake or cyclone. Yes, and then we also trim trees. Tall trees have to cut down so that they're level with the building. And we also look at the securing structure of the buildings. If the windows are not fine or the roofs, especially the roofs. So when the roofs are not okay, we have to make sure we fix the roofings before we go out for holidays. Next slide, please. Also, it is an inclusive WASH planning that includes MHPSS, where students learn about BS support. They can support their friends, and then I support my friend comes in. During these times of preparation, we also prepare the students so that they don't get dramatized after cyclone season. Okay, so whatever happens to them at home, they know how to support their BS at home, their family at home. And then when they come to school, they also get those kinds of attitude or behavior to school. Integrating teaching of natural preparedness in class during teaching and learning. Yes, during teaching, teachers also throughout the year, when they teach, when they come to these kinds of topics, they have to teach them. This is also integrated in the classroom. Teach students after any other disasters. Also, we in the school at Villa East, we also have computers in place for online learning, which the Ministry of Education has mentioned. We already prepared for module online learning. If there's a disaster, we have module in place for year 7 up to year 10 to continue their learning with online, and home package for primary students. Yes, so we have access to internet. Thank you to the Ministry of Education of Vanuatu. They have distributed, respond to us with the Starlink, where we have access to internet in the school. Also, students are taught to be resilient learners, okay? Teachers are trained, and staff and students on evacuation routes, where in the school we have, because we are on safe school program in school, so we have evacuation routes where we have our safe zone and our danger zones. So, and then we have phase 8. Thank you to the Red Cross and the NGOs who have supported us with the phase 8. And phase 8 are also in all the classrooms, which with the class teachers. And we have emergency procedures to follow, which I've just discussed. Next slide. Okay, what worked well? What worked well? Okay, whatever I have mentioned in the preparedness plan has worked well for Villa East School. Also, there's some other things that also worked well with the preparedness for Villa East School for Cyclone. We have community involvement. Community involvement, yes, we have the school council, school community association. They're also involved in the preparing of the school. for earthquake. And then we also have radio warnings from the radio, meteo, and we also have inclusive preparedness. Inclusive preparedness, that relates to like parents, they come in because some parents, they don't pay for fees and they just contribute with whatever they have. So we value them, and then they help us to renovate classrooms and buildings or whatever we found unsafe for cyclone. Also, we follow the Ministry of Education or the DRR officer and his instructions to us when he comes down to the school level to visit us. Mr. Harold, thank you very much. And also the the NDMO guidelines. Okay, we have to build strong coordination with school education and then with the Ministry of Education in order for us to, when we are in danger, they can help automatically, like giving us tent when our buildings are collapsed during cyclone. Okay, fourth, we conduct regular drills, timely. Okay, so we have different drills for earthquake, we have different drills for cyclone, yes, and then we also remind students of mental psychological social support, which is and where teachers go to the training and they come back and then they do the training with the kids. And there were about 64 students that went on training and the school gave them certificates so that they have this BS support spirit within them. That during times of cyclone, they have the courage to help other friends and even their own family. So we all go through, they also go through I Support My Friends program also. We prepared them just because after some times of disasters, and when they return to school, they dramatize, they can't concentrate in class. So we prepared them in advance. Yes. And talk to them about the situation of in Vanuatu context, the situation of disasters, man-made situations and natural disasters as well. Okay, establishing a disaster committee and student clubs. Okay, this is disaster committee is already set according to the Safe School program, and student clubs were also set up according to the social citizenship educational program also that was also carried out in school. So there we also, those committee also give their request to the admin for first aid, for storage boxes to protect academic resources. Okay, we have also what worked well, preparing and storing emergency supplies. Yes, as I've mentioned, we already store our emergency, we already stored our resources, such as our textbooks, our science equipments, our computers. We pack them up and just put the black tabulin around it and tied up just this year. Yes, we're preparing for the cyclone season that is coming. So all those things are what worked well for Villa School. And protecting our school infrastructure and records. Yes, we trim trees, cut down trees already, and then also securing windows and roofs. That is done by the risk assessment that is done by disaster committee of Villa School. And we also moved all furnitures and materials to the center of the classroom. Each class teacher has done that with the students before students leave for holidays. Next slide, please. Also, we've done annual preparedness. This annual preparedness planned also in the school annual academic plan for next year. That is in the school strategic plan also. And then after all this, after a cyclone season, when we come back the next year, sorry, no, that's not it. Go back.
Go back one slide back.
One slide backwards. Yeah, that's it. Okay. When the school starts, the next year, for instance, if the school starts this year, then this year, then at the beginning of this year, when we come, we do recaps or review the plans before we continue this year's operations of the school. Next slide. Okay, the challenges we faced, Phila's faced is that inadequate infrastructure, where school buildings do not build to cyclone resistant standards, weak roofs, and poor anchoring. So some, like in the past earthquake, we have two classrooms damaged, and even the past cyclones, we have roofs flight out. So we have to maintain those roofs. Okay, next is limited fundings. I think we limited fundings due to if we have enough fundings, we are going to build strong classrooms. We are going to buy good roofings for the classrooms, and then we're going to build classrooms that can afford for cyclones and can protect our resources for the school. The next is limited emergency resources. Okay, limited emergency resources. I mean, we have emergency supplies, like we have limited tents. Sorry, limited tents. We have 2 tents which we used this year, and then just during the middle of the year, one of the tents was broken down by a strong wind, and then the class of about 64 students, they were in Afare, squeezed in Afare until the end of the year. So that is a big challenge. And then, however, I would like to thank the NGOs for supplying the tents. And we believe that the challenge is that we need more tents for the school. Okay, water purification systems. Yes, thank you. I would like to say thank you to some NGOs who have supplied us with water tanks, but our water tanks have to be protected during cyclones also. Communicate properly. Next is communication gaps, delay of early warning messages or poor internet coverage. Maybe that comes up under communication tools. And then we have this disruption to education. Like sometimes the school must be closed earlier or quickly so that we can prepare for cyclone. So it disturbs teaching and learning also. And the last one is geographical isolation. That is where some schools, that doesn't refer to villages, but to some schools who are in the remote areas where they have the delay of preparedness materials, where the ship has to go to their places to put the schools, where the schools are, to put the materials, transportation issue, we have the weather issue, principal transfer, and man-made disaster like we are in now, the strike, teacher strike. Next slide, please. Okay, the lesson length, which is my last slide. Okay. Lesson length in the school level at Hila East School. We learned that early preparation saves lives for students, saves lives for teachers as well and ancillary staffs, and it is very effective when we prepare for cyclones. It makes there are strong buildings that makes a huge difference, and it makes us spend less for preparedness, and it is better than spending more after cyclone. That is helpful. Also, communication is crucial and critical during a preparedness period because we have to receive warnings on time. We have to respond to make a difference for safety and danger also. Okay? We have to respond to make difference for safety for the students, teachers, and the community as well. Also, we also learned that practice builds confidence to school admin. Okay, when we practice preparedness, it builds confidence to the school admin, to the principal, and to the school as a whole. The practice evacuation drills make teachers aware, make students aware of the drills. They're gonna go to the safe areas. Yes, and this evacuation are also in the school, which makes students alert. When they look at the evacuation routes, it makes them alert. It makes them aware. Oh, I have to go here. I have to go here during this disaster. So awareness programs also to the teachers and parents is very important. We have to come. I learned that all this have to be communicated to the teachers, to the students, and even to the parents, to the community. Yeah, and also a prepared school. I learned that a prepared school recovers faster. Okay, it has an emergency kit, safe shelters, and first aid. And it has DRR or disaster risk reduction committee that works with the school principal as the team leader. And we know about the school, we know about all these evacuations and all these drills and everything. And all this works together. We work together with the community to empower preparedness for cyclone. And students bring the knowledge home to make the whole nation aware of preparedness for cyclone. Okay, and then we also learned that it reduces long-term impacts on health and education as well. And lastly, preparedness reduce fear. Okay, we know that when we prepare for cyclone, it reduces fear. It makes us know where to go, who to help. It reduces anxiety, and it also protects our important documents for the school and nature strength. It gives you strength. It gives you that power. It gives you that confidence that I will be safe during this disaster, during the cyclone. Yes. So readiness helps to make better decisions too during emergency times. Once we are not ready, we are panic and we cannot make good decisions. Next slide. Okay, so when a school act upon preparedness on DRR, the school plays an important role on teaching and implementing disaster preparedness. It contributes to a safe learning environment. It acts as a communication hub. When the school is prepared, the entire community benefits. Okay, and lastly, preparedness is a shared responsibility. That's what we learned. It is a shared responsibility from the Ministry of Education to the provincial education, to the schools, to the families, to the community leaders and NGOs also. We must work together for supporting and strengthening school preparedness for cyclone seasons. Next slide, please. So way forward, I'm going to give it back to the National Ministry of Education officer to discuss it for us.
Way forward, we have worked collaboratively with the NGOs, our partners to support the SPDR training and resources and funding to resource in Vanuatu. We need to do second one, we need to do regular monitoring. Yeah? This is done by the Provincial Education Office to the school level for preparedness for the cyclone seasons and other disasters to the field. So this next slide. In conclusion, we want to thank our partners, UNICEF, Save the Children, ATRA, Red Cross, Australia government, the New Zealand government, and yeah, and by many others, I think I've missed some other partners. But I want to thank all of them and thank you all for having the time to listen to us, presentations. And thank you for Principal Philae to join this time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vanuatu team, for the presentation. Very comprehensive, and a lot of good learnings from your side as well. I and again, just I know that we are already beyond our time, so just keep our questions for now, and we'll circle back. I'll hand over now to our colleagues from UN OCHA to present.
Hi, thank you very much, and thanks for staying to all the colleagues that are still online. My name is Sarah, and I'm the focal point for Anticipatory Action in UN OCHA. So next slide. So I wanted to start briefly explaining to you what we mean for anticipatory action. So in this slide, you will see what standard response look like if you can press. So you have normally this, and you see the time, and then what usually do is click next. Need assessment, and then based on the need assessment, we do planning and prioritizing. We find the sources that we need to make our plans happen, and then we deliver. So by the time that the severe crisis hit and assistance is delivered to people, you have some time span where people in need are waiting for assistance. Next slide. What we actually doing with anticipatory action is reversing with this approach to have to do all these components we do before. So anticipatory action is built on three key elements. The first element is a trigger. Humanitarian community, we decide to activate a humanitarian assistance based on forecast of a predictable hazard and make a decision which scale to act. And these are the trigger mechanism. Then once we decide on this trigger mechanism, we can potential activities that we're going to deliver if that forecast happen. And these are pre-agreed activities which will be designed targeting the most vulnerable people in need, because it will be delivered aid pre-shock. And then we rearrange financing behind those activities, and the hazard is forecasted to happen. We can immediately assistance. So if you click next, you will see the timeline. And you will see that with all of these in place, we can monitor trigger and be able to deliver anticipatory assistance at the time of the forecast and impact shock, so that people receive aid before an hazard makes landfall. So you can think about tropical cyclones, for example. Next slide. Yeah, and reduce the impact of the crisis. So as a summary, of course, the objective of anticipatory action is to reduce the potential impact of the hazards that are forecastable, and the action based on the forecasts and all the analysis that we can do on impacts, vulnerability, and so forth. And actions need implemented on that time span that we have between the hazard onset and to basically works the warning and the impact. And you see from the graph on the left, on the right, that when we manage to actually implement anticipatory action, we see that we can mitigate the effect of the shock compared to standard response, actually reduce the humanitarian needs when the crisis unfold. Next slide. Yeah, so just briefly, like the first building block is of course the triggers, which is the decision making about where to act. And this is what actually marks the difference between anticipatory action and preparedness. So preparedness is all a series of activities that you do throughout the year as a cycle, and they're not to a specific time span, right? So, for instance, your training of implementing plans or teachers in the schools, your stockpiling of NFIs, all these activities that you do to make sure that people are prepared to a shock is preparedness. When you tie an activity to a specific trigger, so you say, if there is a cyclone category 3 forecasted to hit Vanuatu in the next 3 days, that is our trigger, and you deliver in the time span between the forecast and the impact, that's your anticipatory action. And these are very specific time-bound actions that we deliver as a humanitarian community to the most vulnerable people to make sure that those groups receive the necessary additional assistance to make sure that they upon the resilience to the shock. Next slide. Yeah, the activities that are designed under anticipatory action, of course, normally have to be anticipatory in character. They need to be activities that are able to implement in that short window of opportunity that we have. We need to make sure that they correspond to the operational capacity of the different partners or government entities, that they are designed to target vulnerable groups. Next. And then in terms of financing, this is just to say that to be able to implement anticipatory action, we need money that are already attached behind the plan. So that's what we call prearranged finance. So normally all the anticipatory action projects or activities are already designed and already have agreed financial attached to it that allow for the release as anticipatory action is activated. And this is done with the no regret policy in the sense donors or the partners agree that if the forecast which we build the triggers happens to be wrong, we're still releasing the because AA is built as a red and it's something good on top of the standard preparedness and response. Next slide. Okay, so I think to summarize, here you really see anticipatory action sits in the overall DRM and humanitarian cycle. So the light blue block, preparedness is something that happens continuously. So it's about capacity and so forth. Then you have the impact in red, and impact you have your standard recovery. Now, in between these, there are two things that you can do. One is contingency plan. So normally, and we heard from the colleagues in Vanuatu, there are contingency plans that are attached either to hazard plans or also like attached to forecast. So for instance, as a contingency plan in Palau, we already know that if there is and a typhoon is forecasted, the schools will close, turn into evacuation centers. Now, anticipatory action attached to this, any pre-ready. So it's basically a contingency plan that is pre-financed and that is being rolled out very specific between the forecast and the impact. And next slide. Okay, now I will take questions at the end. I guess if something is not clear, please feel free to put questions in the chat. I just wanted to briefly talk to you about the anticipatory action framework that we have in Fiji and what are we are doing in other countries region. This is the A framework was active in Fiji from 2023 and 2025. It would have if there was a category 4 or 5 tropical cyclone forecasted within 250 kilometers from Fiji, or a category 3, 4, or 5 tropical cyclone making landfall to Fiji. And the capacity of the Fiji EMS services, we were able to have a 2-stage trigger 5 days before, what we call readiness triggers, because 5 days before we are able to have the 120 hours, but the forecast is not sure enough. This was our start of standby trigger, where partners are getting ready to implement, and up to 70 hours before, when we have the final is where we have activated anticipatory action. And on the right, the menu of activities were led by the clusters. So you have multi-purpose care, the Department of Social Welfare, distribute kits to people with disability, distribution of menstrual and hygiene kits, repair facility, distribution of educational materials in the schools. Semiti will talk more about it later. Distribution of clean delivery kits and other NFIs distribution, and very importantly, also a very strong warning messages with instructions so that people can also take forward their self reaction. Next slide. This framework has not been activated because we didn't have a strong enough tropical cyclone, but with a process learning evaluation with the USP, where areas of improvement came up, including expanding the triggers to include rainfall components, strengthening subnational coordination with the different divisions, and community awareness and financial sustainability. And based on this, revise the framework to improve it. Next slide. And I will not go in depth in the revisions because people have been online for a while, but in this slide, you see all the partners that are part of the framework. On the next slide, next, please. You can see the trigger mechanism that goes through the range. Activities remain the same as we only made a change on the distribution of clean delivery. Now is multi-purpose trash, but the core activities are the same. Next slide. And that's important. We really worked more on community engagement and accountability, which is something I think is really relevant for the education sector, because schools are at the core of DRM and education. So we really made provisions for having active accountability to the affected population mechanism, but also community sensitization plans and campaigns where we are able to communicate to communities, A, that what they could do themselves upon the reception of early warning messages, and B, make sure that they understand that the government is piloting this program and that this extra aid will be delivered to the most vulnerable people targeted to make sure that they can really be resilient to the storm. Next. This is just a quick overview of the financing. There are many financing mechanisms to fund anticipatory action in the international context. We use the Central Emergency Response Fund, the fundings from UN agency, the Red Cross has its own mechanism, pool funds, but we also increasingly work with government to make sure we use disaster risk finance to fund anticipatory action activities, and national emergency trust funds, where is financing become sustainable and locally led to decrease dependency on the international system. Next. Yeah, I also wanted to touch upon the framework in Palau very quickly, since we heard a great presentation from the colleagues in as a technical working group, develop a anticipatory action framework. We were in Palau early November, and we had a national workshop with all stakeholders, including Ministry of Education, to the design of the different activities around anticipatory action. And there was a lot of discussion regarding the activation of evacuation centers, how schools operate when they are turned into evacuation. Also with ministry, we discussed what kind of sensitization they roll out in the different schools. So right now, the technical group has prepared a preliminary draft framework for the government based on the results of the workshop, and we will continue working with the different ministries to draft the framework. And actually, this we are in Vanuatu, so I was really glad to hear from the Vanuatu colleagues, and be a cluster meeting dedicated to anticipatory action to start the process here in Vanuatu. I hope we will hear from the education cluster as well. Next. Yeah, next. So just to conclude, I wanted to give you a quick overview of where anticipatory action is in the Pacific. It's something that is introduced in the Pacific 3 years ago now, was March 2023, where there was the first regional workshop. And as you can see, it really grew throughout the year. See that we have a few countries where there are anticipatory action frameworks level either being discussed or being developed, and these are Fiji, where it's developed, Vanuatu, Cook Islands, Palau. That is where we are having this frameworks. We also have is where there are some NGO projects, parametric insurances projects. So I moving forward in the region. That's why I was very invited for running this presentation with the education colleagues. Next slide. Yeah, before I just want to let you know that we are coordinating this through the Pacific Humanitarian Team Technical Working Group, which is a working group at regional level of humanitarian and development partners that fit in the intercluster group. Is coordinating, providing support to government, knowledge and advocacy for anticipatory action. On the next slide. And on the next slide, you can see how it's actually structured. So we have the regional and the colleague here from organization to reach out to us, and we can include you in the meetings. Our group also sometimes some webinars or learning events where we can invite external audience. So if any of you is interested, please reach out. And then the regional group supports country-based AA technical working group, the groups with which we develop the frameworks. We have a working group in Fiji. We are publishing in the technical working group for Vanuatu this week. We was established and Cook Islands, and as we move along, we create this working group so that we can support the local government. And I think I finished in 11 minutes as promised. I know I rushed it out, but yeah, feel free to ask any questions, or the facilitator can share my email if you want to reach out in AA NIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that presentation. Simiti, do you want to come online?
Thank you, John. Pulawanak, everyone. And thank you, Sarah, for the comprehensive presentation. I'm not going to repeat anything that has been shared, and I think that was quite a comprehensive coverage of the AA framework and the all the associated mechanisms. But perhaps just from UNICEF as one of the agencies or partners that are covered under the AA framework, just to describe how this impacts our work. For us, it doesn't change anything that we do. As Sarah has shared, once the pre-agreed triggers activated, and also the pre-agreed activities that are part of the framework, and also the pre-agreed financing, so that when all of that becomes available, we do what we normally do, which is our pre-positioned NFIs, which are the temporary learning spaces or the tents, and also our resources, as in school in a box, that allows school to continue immediately during the disaster. So, but we do that with the anticipation that funding will become available as part of the anticipatory action framework to replenish those stock that we have. So we can use funds to reposition the stock that we have, and also to use the stock, knowing that it will be the funding through the anticipatory action framework would be made available to replenish those stock. So I think that of course makes a lot of difference in terms of ensuring that we can release these items, knowing that we will have replenishment. And also our WASH colleagues, I see that Diego is connected, but maybe if Diego wants to add something, but it's the same with particularly our WASH colleagues who also have pre-positioned NFIs in the different countries that we work in. And this also becomes available when the triggers are activated. It means that we can release these items, knowing that the reassurance that there will be funding available through the AA framework to replenish those items. Thank you. So that's all from us, unless Diego wants to add something. Over.
No, thank you, Semiti. I think you cover all the activities quite well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Semiti, for sharing the updates from UNICEF side. I know this is beyond our time for our webinar, but I guess we can take one or two questions now. So I'll open the floor for any questions that participants might have for previous presentations and any other presentations during this call. Any questions, pending questions that anyone have? Please go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, just have a quick question.
Go ahead. I think you're on mute. You're on mute, Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so for the first presenter, Rachel, it was Rachel who presented. about the. And I was just wondering if if they have seen an increase in the cyclones in the past year as compared to now? Because based on our presentation, she was presenting about 2025, 26 and the anticipated cyclones that we're going to be getting. But do they see like an increase in the cyclones for this year as compared to the last year, or is it still the same, or do they see any change as far as not just the frequency but the intensity as well?
Sorry, do you want me to take that question?
Yes,
Sorry,
please.
so for this cyclone season, it's below average, meaning longer systems, but lesser of activity this season. So it's below average compared to last season, meaning there's lesser that's been forecasted.
Thank you, Catalina, for sharing that response. Any other questions? Any other questions from anyone? All right. I think if there's no other question, I know has been a long session for us today. But thank you so much for your participation today and for staying on. Just before we go, just as an announcement, as I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be the first of other webinars that will be coming up next year. And I mentioned that there's a one for climate finance, climate infrastructure that will be happening in the 4th of February. So look out for the communications that we will be sharing for that webinar. And we've also for countries, for the Pacific countries, we've shared a learning needs assessment to countries to input their information around what kind of information and training or other topics that they would like to learn about, and this will inform our webinar series in the next year. So just wanted to remind countries to provide your inputs, and if other partners are interested to join this learning needs assessment as well, to let us know, and we can send the link to you as well. We will extend the deadline for the learning needs assessment to be completed by Friday this week. So this is the last reminder. So we will, after Friday, then we will close the link to the learning needs assessment. So just a reminder for countries that have not yet shared their inputs yet to the assessment. Yeah, again, before we go, just wanted to once again thank you so much to the speakers this afternoon, to our colleagues from Vanuatu, Palau, and our colleagues from UN, OCHA and UNICEF for supporting and presenting during this webinar. It's really it's a really good learning opportunity, and thank you so much for your efforts in supporting this webinar for all of us this afternoon. I think all of us learned something new today. And if you're interested in other things that were discussed today, you can reach out to our speakers or to us so we can follow up with any other follow-up questions. So with that, thank you too much, everyone, and have a blessed Christmas and Happy New Year for 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Okay, hold on. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you very much.